So we are right on the edge of the next giant leap in artificial intelligence, AI agents. Now, these aren't systems that just answer your questions. These are AIs designed to actually do things in the world. But here's the $1 million or maybe $1 trillion question. Are we building the ultimate tool for productivity, or are we basically engineering our own economic collapse?
Because really, that's the heart of the debate right now. On one side, you've got this vision of a tireless digital workforce, handling everything from scheduling our meetings to managing massive corporate logistics. But on the other side, there's a much, much darker forecast, one that involves huge job losses and a potential systemic financial crisis. So what's it going to be?
Okay, let's really get into this. First off, what exactly is an AI agent? It is so important to understand that this isn't just a smarter ChatGPT. A generative AI, like ChatGPT, it responds to your prompt. An AI agent, on the other hand, takes that prompt, creates a whole multi-step plan, and then goes out and executes that plan to get something done. Think of it like this. One is a research analyst, the other is the CEO.
To really understand the stakes here, we have to start with the most extreme argument out there. A research firm recently took a hard look at the rise of these agents, and they painted a deeply, deeply unsettling picture of our very near future. So here it is, the core idea from Citrini Research. They're arguing that as companies rush to adopt AI agents for all sorts of complex white-collar work, they could, without even meaning to, kickstart a massive, cascading economic failure. And listen, they're not talking about some far-off sci-fi future. They put the timeline at just 2 years from their forecast.
And the numbers they're talking about are just staggering. Their scenario ends with a potential stock market collapse of more than 35% by 2028. Now, that isn't just a market correction. We're talking about a systemic crisis that would just vaporize trillions in value, hitting everything from pension funds to global portfolios. So the big question is, how in the world could we get there?
Okay, now what's so fascinating here is the mechanism they describe, something they call the doom loop. And it starts out pretty logically. Companies use AI agents to get more efficient. Of course, this leads to layoffs for knowledge workers. Well, those workers who lost their jobs then stop spending money, which naturally hurts business profits. And what do businesses do when their profits are down? You guessed it. They double down on automation to cut even more costs. And just like that, you have a vicious cycle that just feeds on itself. And this timeline they've laid out really shows you how it could play out. Look, from 2026 to 2027, things might actually look pretty good on the surface. Corporate profits are soaring. But then, by 2028, that feedback loop really kicks into gear. Unemployment spikes, and the whole market just unravels. And according to their model, our usual economic tools, like changing interest rates, they might not even be enough to stop the bleeding. And here's the thing. Unlike past automation waves that hit factory floors, this one is aimed right at the heart of the service and knowledge economy. We're talking legal services, accounting, the entire business process outsourcing industry, and even middle management jobs that are all about coordinating and reporting. I mean, these are the jobs that form the very core of modern economies. The report wraps up with this one chilling phrase, a negative feedback loop with no natural break. It's this vision of an economy that becomes so optimized for efficiency that it literally automates its own customers right out of existence. It's a powerful and, frankly, pretty terrifying argument. But is it actually realistic? You see, the Citrini forecast is a top-down economic model. So let's hit the brakes for a second and look at the bottom-up reality from the actual engineers and researchers who are trying to build these things. And they tell a very different story, one that suggests this doomsday clock might be ticking a whole lot slower than we think.
I mean, we've all seen the demos of robots fetching things or tidying up a room, and it looks so simple, right? But taking a high-level command like, hey, I need my medicine, and turning that into a series of physical actions in a messy, unpredictable human house, that is an astronomically difficult problem. In fact, if you talk to researchers in what's called embodied AI, they'll point to 4 fundamental hurdles that they are still trying to clear. First, just reliably translating our vague human language into precise robot actions. Second, making sense of a chaotic room using multiple sensors all at once. Third, and this is a huge one for safety, is getting the robot to know what it doesn't know. And fourth, doing all of that on a tiny, power-efficient computer that can actually fit on a robot. And this system diagram here gives you just a little taste of the complexity we're talking about. It is not just one big AI brain. It's a messy, tangled web of systems for perception, for planning, for control, all trying to work together perfectly in real time. If any one of these little boxes fails, the whole system can fail.
This timeline really puts it all into perspective. We have been working on this problem for over 50 years, going all the way back to the very first planning algorithms in the 1960s. Now, sure, modern foundation models have totally supercharged progress since about 2018, but those core challenges of just interacting with the physical world, they're still incredibly hard. So while the economic model assumes these agents are ready to go at scale, the engineering reality suggests a much more gradual rollout. So we've got these two conflicting visions, right? Economic collapse driven by super efficient software, and this slow, painful march toward robots that can actually function. The synthesis, the real path forward, might lie in changing what we're asking the AI to do in the first place, moving it from simple pattern matching to genuine, actual reasoning. Look, today's large language models, they are masters of pattern recognition. They are incredibly good at predicting the next word in a sentence based on all the data they've seen, but they don't actually understand cause and effect. The next wave of AI, that's all focused on genuine reasoning, on synthesizing information, evaluating different strategies, and truly getting why one action leads to another.
And the key to all of this is a concept they call world models. Just think of it like giving the AI its own internal mental map of how the world actually works. It's not just a pile of data. It's a framework for understanding relationships, for simulating what-if scenarios in its head, and for learning from its mistakes. It's basically the foundation for common sense.
And here's the part that I think is just incredible. Researchers are getting their inspiration from the work of psychologist Jean Piaget. His theory was that children don't just passively absorb facts like a sponge. They actively build their understanding of the world through different stages of interaction and experience. And the idea is, why not teach an AI to learn just like a child does?
So you start with a perception stage, just learning to see pixels and hear sounds. Then comes a representation stage, where you learn that certain patterns are chairs or tables. Next is the reasoning stage, where you start to infer logic, like a cup can be placed on a table. And finally, you get to generalization, where you can apply that same logic to new objects and new situations that you've never even seen before. And this brings us to a pretty profound place. Maybe the grand challenge ahead of us isn't just about building a smarter AI. Maybe it's about how we integrate this completely new form of intelligence into our world, thoughtfully and safely. The ultimate takeaway from all this research seems to be that a truly capable AI, the kind that can be a genuine assistant without breaking everything, is going to come from bridging what we know about human learning with how we build our machines. It's about teaching them to reason, not just to repeat what they've heard.
And this brings us completely full circle, right back to that ominous economic forecast. In a fascinating little twist, Citrini Research themselves end their report with this thought. The real task isn't just a technical one for engineers. It's a societal one for all of us, to build an economy that can actually adapt to and benefit from this powerful new technology without destroying itself in the process.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. As we're teaching our machines to reason, to build up an understanding of the world from scratch, can we apply that same level of wisdom to ourselves and build a society that's actually ready for them? Thanks so much for joining me.